हेलो माय डियर फ्रेंड्स, कैसे हैं आप लोग। उम्मीद करती हूँ आप सब अच्छे होंगे। चैप्टर नंबर 36, द लूजर्स, फ्रॉम द बुक थीफ, रिटन बाय मार्कस ज़्यूज़ैक। दोस्तों, मेरे चैनल को लाइक, शेयर एंड सब्सक्राइब ज़रूर कीजिएगा और मैं नेक्स्ट बुक कौन सी पढूँ आप मुझे कमेंट्स में बताइए। बुक का नाम सजेस्ट करिएगा। थैंक यू वेरी मच। When it came to steering, Liesel and Reedy first stuck with the idea that there was safety in numbers. Andy Shoemaker invited them to the river for a meeting. Amongst other things, a game plan for fruit stealing would be on the agenda. So, are you the leader now? Rudy had asked, and Andy shook his head, heavy with disappointment. He clearly wished that he had what it took. No, his cool voice was unusually warm, half baked. There is someone else. The new Arthur Berg. He had windy hair and cloudy eyes, and he was the kind of delinquent who had no other reason to steal except that he enjoyed it. His name was Victor Chamel. Unlike most people engaged in the various arts of thievery, Victor Chamel had it all. He lived in the best part of Molching, high up in a villa which had been fumigated when the Jews were driven out. He had money, he had cigarettes when he wanted, however, was more. No crime in wanting a little more, he claimed, lying back in the grass with a collection of boys assembled around him, wanting more in our fundamental right as Germans. What does our Führer say? He answered his own rhetoric. We must take what is rightfully ours. What is rightfully ours? As face value, Victor Chamel was clearly your standard teenage bullshit artist. Unfortunately, when he felt like revealing it, he also possessed a certain charisma, a kind of follow me. When Liesel and Reedy approached the group by the river, she heard him ask another question. So, where are these two deviates you have been bragging about? It's 4:10 already. Not by my watch, said Rudy. Victor Chamel propped himself up on an elbow. You are not wearing a watch. Would I be here if I was rich enough to own a watch? The new leader sat up fully and smiled with straight white teeth. He then turned his casual focus onto the girl, who is the little whore. Liesel, well accustomed to verbal abuse, simply watched the fog-ridden texture of his eyes. Last year, she listed, I stole at least 300 apples and dozens of potatoes. I have little trouble with barbed wire fences and I can keep up with anyone here. Is that right? Yes, sir. She did not shrink or step away. All I ask is a small pot of anything we take, a dozen apples here or there, a few leftovers for me and my friend. Well, I suppose that it can be arranged. Victor lit a cigarette and raised it to his mouth. He made a concentrated effort to blow his next mouthful in Liegel's face. Liegel did not cough. It was the same group as the previous year, the only exception being the leader. Liegel wondered why none of the other boys had assumed the helm. But looking from face to face, she realized that none of them had it. They had no qualms about stealing, but they needed to be told. They liked to be told, and Victor Chamel liked to be the teller. It was a nice microcosm. For a moment, Liesel longed for the reappearance of Arthur Berg, or would he have to fallen under the leadership of Chamel? It didn't matter. Liesel only knew that Arthur Berg did not have a tinical bone in his body, whereas the new leader had hundreds of them. Last year she knew that if she was stuck in a tree, Arthur would come back for her, despite claiming otherwise. This year, by comparison, she was instantly aware that Victor Chamel wouldn't even bother to look back. He stood regarding the lanky boy and the malnourished looking girl. So you want to steal with me? What did they have to lose? They nodded. He stepped closer and grabbed Rudy's hair. I want to hear it, definitely, Rudy said before being shoved back. Fringe first, and you? Of course. Liesel was quick enough to avoid the same treatment. Victor smiled. He squashed his secret, breathed deeply in, and scratched his chest. My gentleman, my word, it looks like it's time to go shopping. As the group walked off, Liesel and Rudy were at the back as they did always been in the past. Do you like him? Rudy whispered. Do you? Rudy paused a moment. I think he is a complete bastard. Me too. The group was getting away from them. Come on, Rudy said. We have fallen behind. After a few miles, they reached the first farm. What greeted them was a shock. The trees they did imagine to be swollen with fruit were frail and injured looking, with only a small array of apples hanging miserably from each branch. The next farm was the same. Maybe it was a bad season or their timing wasn't quite right. By the end of the afternoon, when the spoils were handed out, Liesel and Rudy were given one diminutive apple between them. In fairness, the takings were incredibly poor, but Victor Chemel also ran a tighter ship. What do you call this? Rudy asked, the apple resting in his palm. Victor didn't even turn around. What does it look like? The words were dropped over his shoulder. One lousy apple. Here, a fallen eaten one was also tossed their way, landing chewed side down in the dirt. You can have that one too. Rudy was incensed. To hell with this. We didn't walk 10 miles from 1.5 scrawny apples. Did we, Liesel? Liesel did not answer. She did not have time, for Victor Chemel was on top of Rudy before she would utter a word. She could utter a word. His knees had pinned. Rudy's arms and his hands were around his throat. The apples were scooped by none other than Andy Simic at Victor's request. You are hurting him, Liesel said. Am I? Victor was smiling again. She hated that smile. He is not hurting me. Rudy's words were rushed together and his face was red with strain. His nose began to bleed. After an extended moment of increased pressure, Victor let Rudy go and climbed off him. Taking a few careless steps, he said, Get up, boy. And Rudy, choosing wisely, did as he was told. Victor came casually closer again and faced him. He gave him a gentle rub on the arm and a grin. A whisper, unless you want me to turn that blood into a fountain, I suggest you go away, little boy. He looked at Liesel and take the little slut with you. No one moved. Well, what are you waiting for? Liesel took Rudy's hand and they left, but not before Rudy turned one last time and spat some blood and saliva at Victor Chemel's feet. It evoked one final remark, a small threat from Victor Chemel to Rudy Steiner. You will pay for that at a later date, my friend. Say what you will about Victor Chemel, but he certainly had patience and a good memory. It took him approximately 5 months to turn his statement into a true one. यहाँ पे होता है हमारा चैप्टर द लूजर्स फिनिश चैप्टर 36. मिलेंगे हम नेक्स्ट चैप्टर में विद चैप्टर नंबर 37 स्केचेस. बाय फॉर नाउ माय डियर फ्रेंड्स एंड थैंक यू वेरी मच. The Book Thief, written by Marcus Zuzak. Bye for now. Thank you, and thank you very much. Bye.